Bro, what if I tell you that the Quran shows that Jesus is the Son of God?
No way! You discovered something about the Quran despite never actually having read it? And that no one else in 1400 years hasn't discovered? Wow, I'm so interested. Go on, do tell.
This blew my mind. Come follow me. When you read the Quran, you see that it promotes a virgin birth. Pause and read. Now, I'm gonna paraphrase this, but you can pause and read. The Quran says that Jesus will take clay and design it, and then he'll breathe into it.
Oh, that old thing again? Okay, I'll let you finish.
And then it becomes a living thing. It also says that he can raise the dead, give life to the dead. He can also cure the blind.
Okay, first of all, the verse you paraphrased literally says Jesus ﷺ performed those miracles by the permission of Allah. Jesus couldn't do these things by himself or of his own accord. And the verse also says that Jesus brought these signs from your Lord. So again, they're not Jesus' miracles, but Allah's. In another verse, Allah himself mentions how on the Day of Judgment, he will interrogate Jesus and remind him of the miracles that Jesus performed by Allah's will, not by Jesus' will.
So I want you to understand this. We'll leave the Bible out of it for now.
Oh no, we're going to bring it in because you don't know what you're talking about. And you're just making things up that even the Bible doesn't support. Even your Bible says that God performs signs and wonders through people, like Paul and Barnabas. They didn't do these things themselves. Performing miracles does not make a person divine, or a, quote, son of God. The prophet Elisha raised a boy from the dead too. That doesn't make him divine, or a son of God. Unless by that phrase you mean someone who is close to God.
According to the Quran, Jesus did not have an earthly father. This means that God put him directly into Mary.
Yeah, he sent the angel Gabriel, and through Gabriel, the soul of Jesus was blown into Mary. That still doesn't prove that what you think it proves. In fact, elsewhere in the Quran, Jesus' example is compared to that of Adam, in that both were created from dust.
Also, according to the Quran, Jesus healed the sick, gave life to the dead, and had the ability to form, breathe, and create life. Where have we heard this? Right here. Genesis says that God formed man from the clay or the dust of the ground and into his nostrils.
Wait, what was that? Was that blowing or sneezing? Anyway, again, Jesus didn't do these things of his own accord. These were signs that were given to him, like signs given to other prophets, and which he performed with the permission of Allah. Take away Allah's permission, and Jesus can't do anything. In fact, the Quran even mentions one incident where Jesus prayed to Allah to miraculously send a table of food from heaven. Now think about this. If Jesus had superpowers, couldn't he just do it himself? This shows how utterly powerless he was, and how dependent he was on Allah.
Then he became living. Jesus does not have the DNA of an earthly man, but according to the Quran, whose DNA does he have? With the trait to breathe and create life! God's DNA.
Say what? Bro, what are you on? You're talking about DNA, like this thing? Deoxyribonucleic acid? You think God has a double helix with nitrogenous bases, a phosphate backbone, and a 5-carbon sugar?
Yahweh is the Father.
This isn't the Maury Povich show, and you're not performing a paternity test. Jesus had no father. Like Adam had no father or mother. Both were created from dust. Jesus' creation was one of Allah's miracles. Keep your pagan theology out of it.
So even though it contradicts itself by saying that God doesn't have a son, the very structure of the writings display he does.
Yeah, no, because such a concept is completely rejected in the Quran, which again, you've never read. In Surah 5 verse 17, Allah asks who has the power to prevent him from destroying Jesus if he wanted to. This implies that Jesus is just part of Allah's creation, and is insignificant compared to the majesty and power of Allah.
And his name is Yeshua. I find it interesting that God will only allow the enemy to go so far when piecing a religion, but God will still make him leave certain fundamental truths.
Which is why the pagan religion of Christianity still has hints of the pure monotheism that Jesus preached, so that he declares that there is no God but God, and Jesus is his servant.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, La